Hello, YouTube friends. Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today is another installment in the Something to Argue About series. And today's video is going to concentrate on the always fun topic of zero nitrates and the lowering nitrates and taking them down to nothing, and what you'll find in the community is some very interesting discussions on this topic that I'm going to get into with you right now. Let's go ahead and get right into it. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell and hit that thumbs up. Let YouTube know that something good is going on here, and that way they will promote the channel to other fish keepers like you and me. So let's get into this topic, and it's a topic with a couple layers, a couple parts to it. And first of all, people out there are striving for this thing called the full cycle. And the full cycle is where you actually have converted, you've gone from ammonia to nitrite and from nitrite to nitrate, and then a way of getting that nitrate back down to zero, back down to nothing. And have it sort of gas off the aquarium, I guess, giving you a reading of zero nitrates. Now, there are some people out there who say they have achieved that, and they strive for it. And it is certainly a topic that is going to get into some heated discussions, and to the point where if some of you out there have zero nitrates, you're probably reluctant to even post it anywhere, because what's going to happen is you're going to get people telling you that you're lying or that you're being paid by some media some media provider or something, right? But it'll get into a knockdown, drag out. Now, the argument out there is that some medias will claim that that by using their product, you can get zero nitrates. Now, that has a lot to do with other factors. Do you have a very lightly stocked tank? Do you have a tank that has plants that are also helping to consume ammonia and thus nitrate? So there's a lot of different moving parts in this argument. In the years that I've been keeping fish, and granted, those fish have been very messy fish, right? Fish that eat a lot, fish that, and by virtue of that, produce a lot of waste. The zero nitrate has never been a part of my fish keeping. I've gotten it down to as low as 10 in a relatively lightly stocked tank, where I was running an algae scrubber. This is a product that's produced by Santa Monica Filtration, and it produces algae that helps to absorb nitrates in a controlled fashion, and then it's cleaned out every week and then starts over again. So it's a good way of helping with nitrates. I was able to get a tank down to about 10, but I still needed to do water changes for other reasons. And that holy grail of zero nitrates is, of course, people pursue that because they don't want to have to be continually doing the water changes, which is the traditional way people are reducing nitrates. Now, one argument is that you can't get zero nitrates with media when it's inside of a filter, because the water is passing over that media too quickly. You need slow-moving water. You need low oxygen to get a anaerobic bacteria that's going to consume nitrates. The other side of that argument is that deep inside of certain media, the water flow is very, very slow. The fast-moving water is on the outside of the media, not on the inside. And so as you get more towards the inside of the media, you end up with a low oxygen area. That seems to be the theory behind, and there are some folks, if you search on YouTube, you'll find, just do a little search of zero nitrate aquarium, you'll find folks that have used a large quantity of products like Biohome, and they claim that they have zero nitrates. In watching those videos, I have no reason to not believe these folks. They are using a very high amount of the Biohome, and perhaps there is something to the theory that on the inside of the media you can produce a very low oxygen environment, whereas on the outside you have a high oxygen environment. Maybe there's something to that. In my case, and another topic that will give you something to argue about is the deep substrate. If you look at this tank, I have about 4 to 5 inches of sand. And the theory being, based on a video I saw of a shop up in San Francisco, these tanks were very heavily planted. They'd been established for 20 or more years, but the person did 0 water changes. He only did top-offs and had 0 nitrates, next to nothing nitrates. And his theory was that the deep substrate was producing near the bottom half of it, a colony of anaerobic bacteria that was consuming nitrates and then taking the nitrates back down to 0. So it would go through the normal cycle of ammonia to nitrite to nitrate, and then nitrate converted back to a form that could gas off of the aquarium, giving you a reading of 0 nitrates. I like that idea. I actually keep a deep substrate in the hope of developing some anaerobic bacteria. And is it working? This tank tends to run at about 20 to 30, parts per million. I do water changes on it of about 30%. I don't do massive water changes, and my nitrates stay in what I consider to be a comfortable level. Now, that's another topic for discussion. What is a comfortable level? At what point do nitrates actually become dangerous? And that is another topic that will probably get you into an argument. So we have 3 topics. 1, is the full cycle of taking nitrates back to 0. Is that possible? That will get real hot real fast. Topic number 2, will a deep substrate actually end up producing an anaerobic colony of bacteria that can eliminate nitrates in your tank? Can that happen? Will that happen? Is it possible, right? And the third topic that will create a lively discussion on a fish keeping forum is, what is a safe level of nitrates? Some people will argue that unless you get over 100 parts per million, you really don't have to worry. Other people will say you better keep them around 10 or your fish are going to suffer. They're going to survive, but they're not going to thrive. So my 2 cents on that, I have had nitrates run anywhere from 20 to 80, and I haven't seen an a noticeable adverse change in the fish. Now, what if it was reducing the life expectancy of the fish? What if it was reducing the ability or possibility of having breeding fish? I don't breed fish. So what if I was breeding fish? And would my breeding have dropped off at 60, 80 parts per million nitrates? I don't know. So I'm not talking to you from a controlled experiment. I'm telling you an anecdotal observation that when my nitrates started to creep, because I was getting some nitrates out of the faucet in California, and water changes that were below 50% were not reducing nitrates. And so when those nitrates started creeping up, and I discovered that I had, in fact, over 50 parts per million, and in some cases 80 parts per million, I didn't notice frayed fins. I didn't notice a change in behavior. I didn't notice less color. So it made me wonder, at what level are nitrates actually dangerous? And in doing some reading and research, I discovered that the opinion is quite wide. In some cases, those nitrates can be, people will say 100 is where you actually want to do a water change. and other people will assert very strongly that you better keep them around 10. So again, in the end, a very fluid situation with a lot of opinions, a lot of moving parts, right? How much do you feed? What's your stock level? What kinds of fish do you keep? Do you have plants? Things of this nature, right? In my case, I don't worry about it. I do a water change of about 30% every week. I monitor, I test. I use the Aquarium Co-op test kit, which test strips, which, by the way, recommend a water change at 100 parts per million, which I thought was very interesting. You can see it on the back of the test strip package. But at any rate, those are my 2 cents. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Is zero nitrates possible in the aquarium, in a freshwater aquarium, without water changes? Is that possible? What do you think? Is a deep substrate going to help me build a colony of anaerobic bacteria that at some point is going to help with the converting of nitrates into a form where it can simply gas off and give me a very low nitrate reading? And what is a safe nitrate level? Should we shoot for 10, 20, 40? Or do we really not have to worry until we get to 100? Comment below, share your thoughts, look at other folks' comments. Let's get into some good discussions on this. Keep it respectful and friendly. Remember, that's the criteria for this channel. And we'll talk about it some more at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. That occurs every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's have a very lively discussion on this topic, and I look forward to reading your comments. All right? That's it for me, my friends. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.